are live on LinkedIn. I have my guest Andy Shaw with me today. Andy, welcome. Good to have you here.
Hi, Haley. Very good to be here. Thank you for inviting me on this.
You are very welcome. For anyone who is on LinkedIn, please come into the chat and put your questions in the chat so that we can answer them. But we're going to be covering quite a bit about Andy today. I've still got people trying to actually join our stream. Anyway, well, we'll figure that out. So how about you tell our audience a bit about you, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. It depends how far back to go, really.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I've actually been doing some research on what you've been achieving, and that it's quite vast. So yeah, I didn't know how to kind of round it all up in one.
Yeah, I see someone's asking about the link. I mistakenly shared the wrong link. So the first thing is that, yeah, you can make mistakes. It's okay.
Yeah. It's, we're all human.
Yeah. So I grew up in Edinburgh with one brother who's actually just made a book on failing, which I'm reading.
Oh.
And to link that to LinkedIn, it does mention, LinkedIn's all about, I'm thrilled to announce I've done this, look at my amazing work. We can be a bit better at admitting our mistakes and failures, feel better about it. That's how you learn. So yeah, I grew up in Scotland, went to London to the Bartlett, did my part 1 there back in the 90s. And my part 2, actually, I worked at Hopkins in London for about 12 years, worked in very interesting projects like the Olympic Velodrome, National Tennis Centre, did a lot of 3D modeling and parametric modeling back in that time, actually. So very much hands-on mouse clicking across lots of projects. Then I think I'm often asked why I came to the Gulf. People have different reasons. There's many reasons. I did feel I needed to change the scene. I found the financial crisis from 2008, 9, 10, kind of changed the mood in London. I'd never lived in another country. I thought I want to live in another country at some point. And there was an opportunity to come to the Gulf with an old boss from Hopkins, showing the importance of kind of network and reputation and things. And it did take about a year to happen. It wasn't people generally leaving Dubai or left at that point. It was recovering. But in 2011, or start of 2011, I came to Dubai, joined RMJM, where they had lots of people have been through there. They used to be one of the biggest companies in the region, still going. Made lots of good friends there. It was a bit of a roller coaster, as is life in the Gulf for 7-8 years, with an economy going up and down and everything. But did some very interesting work in Turkey and in Abu Dhabi. And then after about 7-8 years there, kind of started going my own way. Again, nothing well. If you're an architect, you can set up your own company and be independent, and made that journey. At the same time, actually starting a family and wanting the flexibility and getting out of the intensity and the lack of time control you get in an office. I remember seeing a man had just become a father, and he was, he's been working on a Sunday night, telling his wife that he can't come home, and I thought, this isn't very good. So,
that was my dad, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a common industry, and that's one thing we've tried to address at AMA. But also, yes, just wanting a bit more of the freedom and control that comes being self-employed. And at that point, actually, I was started teaching at Heriot Watt University, some studio and other classes, and also AUD, CUD as adjuncts, so just doing kind of a few half days here and there. And then started working with an old colleague from RMGM, my business partner, Naji, as AMA, that just started a little bit before, and I'd been helping as well. And then it took a year or two, but eventually you kind of build momentum, you get some breaks, eventually one lands, and then once you've done 1 or 2 projects and the clients give repeat work, something very important, that keeps growing. So that was the business starting up and growing momentum, and it's now like almost, I think, 9-10 years or so, and we're sort of pretty well established, and we certainly do lots of residential housing and hospitality, everything from high end to kind of almost worker housing within big developments, and some international work, Morocco, Iraq. And then also about a similar time, I thought, if it's no longer my practice paying my RIBA fees. Now it's coming from my pocket. I want a bit more out of it. So I started going to the events and things, and then also there was an election for chair, which I ran for and won. I think that was end of 2019. Within a few weeks of starting, COVID hit. So everything went online. That was actually quite good. We could kind of think more across the region. It all criticism it felt to UAE and Dubai centric. That's where the members were really. So that helped kind of go more broader and even have people from China and America and UK joining our online events. And then I did my 2 terms as chair, which became 6 years in the end. And we kept doing lots of events and growing the community, set up quite a big base in Saudi Arabia as well, still going. Every design week, we did a lot every year. And that was, I really enjoyed just meeting all the architects and all the other companies and things, going to all events. So it was quite a key part of networking and things. And I'm now became a RIBA fellow this year. I think there's only 2 in the Gulf, and seeing what that's kind of. So I still work with RIBA on their, their strategy and what they're doing. I've been speaking with the AI group as well. They just did their AI report this week, but also now keen to have a bit more time to focus on practice in my personal life, practice my golf swing and things as well. So yeah, that's a kind of career summary. Now I mentioned that when I came, I had a period of lots of clicking and 3D modeling. I was very into 3D modeling a while ago. And even when I was like a part 2 rendering and things, I remember it taking days. AI, which AI has made a lot easier. So also I missed out one bit, and I think I did when it was a while ago now, 8-9 years, when I had a more flexible time. I went to a workshop in Dubai that was actually about AI and cities and things before it really, kicked off. But I learned a bit then, how it worked, and I saw what it could mean. And then, so when there was more of a wave coming 4 or 5 years ago, this is quite important. So we've been engaging with it to try and improve our workflows and efficiency, whilst not letting it overpower us, obviously. But so now at work, I do less. I probably stopped 3D modeling and drawing and things 4 or 5 years ago, but 6-7 years ago, I was still quite hands-on doing models, and now more marking up plans of it, sharing things, and a lot more just running the business, which is trying to find new clients, doing all the bids, commercial work, managing an office, finding people. I'm happy. And AI also helps a lot with that too, because it's good at digesting information. And looking forward, we hope to keep going, grow a bit, get more projects built, because some don't go, some of them do. We do have quite a few on site now and quite a few built projects in the region.
Yeah. So I want to get into the AI stuff, because we've had some people kind of post their questions to me, but I just wanted to take you back just slightly. I mean, how does it feel stepping down from RIBA after 2 terms?
It's quite sad at the time, actually.
I'm not surprised.
Didn't realize it'd been 6 years. It's going to take it year by year. You kind of look ahead at what we're going to do this year, and then try and execute that plan. And so it was a bit sad to let something go, but also actually, I think as you go through your life, at some point a chapter has to close and another one opens. And actually, maybe it could have stopped it. Actually, that election happened late. I thought it should have happened 6 months earlier. I was already mentally prepared. and actually, I've been thinking to try, having learned from the experience of working in an institution that's kind of cross companies. It's not about companies are not competing with each other and things. But it's actually about cooperating more, and you're interacting a bit with things like the embassies and the government, the UAE government a bit, and all these trade shows and all our universities. So that kind of breadth I did find very interesting and enjoyable, but how to maybe take that in a new direction, and probably doing something in the AI world as that emerges as something more and more powerful. So like many things, a mixture of sadness, but also optimism that it gives the time and space to refresh, and start a new chapter, and to take what I learned from it and all the people I met. But I think the thing I enjoyed the most, because it wasn't paid, Some people thought I was like it was a full-time job. I was like RIBA rep in the region. No, it's a voluntary job. All the people in the chapter and committee and things are all volunteers. They have full-time jobs and family lives, or teaching or students or whatever. And you're putting it in your extra hours unpaid as a kind of goodwill. And so you do it out of passion. But the best thing I always thought was like just meeting all the people, spending some time with them. It was like a community, which I think everybody should have in their life.
Yeah,
whether that's through sport or something completely different. But in the UK, it's probably they're going to the football game or whatever. Or in university, I know you get a lot of camaraderie amongst your cohort and year. But I think it's good to have something beyond your work, office life, and your family life that gives you a bit of sense of community and purpose as well.
Yeah, for sure. And what's your biggest win from your time with RIBA as chair?
Well, I don't know win, but I think one of the highlights was, so last year in Design Week, I kind of knew it was at the end of my allowed term limit and things. So we made a big effort to make an exhibition with like 60 boards. It's actually 4 exhibitions in one. And I was kind of pushing myself also to see what could be done. We've done exhibitions before with an awards ceremony. And every day there was like 3 or 4 talks and workshops happening. So that was all about community, was the theme, community space. So the logistics of putting that together, I mean, I don't know if I'm not an event planner. I'm not in that world. But that's a very, very hard deadline. Normally, architect deadlines are important, but a lot of them, the client moves it because they're not ready, or it's just something happens. They can drift a bit.
Yeah.
But event doesn't move, so it puts an extra layer of stress. But I think so. I was quite proud that the amount of coordinations, logistics, and actually the amount of people that came forward to help, again with their free time, goodwill, out of passion, to help put together all these talks and exhibitions and things. I think was probably the most memorable part. Yeah, but I don't know. I think just growing a community that was needed in the region, probably the thing I'm most proud of.
For sure. So you've touched upon the AI workshops, etc. How do you see AI fitting into architecture? We get lots of our clients kind of come to us talking about it, wanting to set up these departments. How do you see it? Yeah, kind of integrating.
So it's a big. I mean, I think it's probably the most important thing I faced in my career, actually. And I remember going through BIM being new and parametrics. When I was at uni, I was actually the first person to have a CAD drawing in their final submission.
Oh, wow.
And computing course is quite new. So it's all, even then, university really hand drawing all the time. It's in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
But I feel that this is a much bigger deal than all the other ones. It remains to be seen how far it goes. It could be a very, very big deal, but it's just so broad that you have to kind of see it in these, I think, different, almost like buckets. And it will depend, are you a very small practice, or are you a mega practice of thousands of people? It's going to be different in how you use it, how you deploy it, and what kind of data you have access to. But one of the main things is it's not just focused on one part, like the drawing part or the site part. It's like really everything. It's running an office with everything from HR to finance, legal, marketing, all aspect, running your projects, all on non-fee paying part as well. Then the design side, it's already making, getting images and renders obviously a lot easier and faster, but can do a lot more in videos. I'm starting to see buildings appear by prompting, not clicking. That's why I mentioned clicking a lot when I was young.
Yeah.
So a lot of that clicking time, I don't know how many million clicks I did in my 20s, but it's becoming more and more normal that you can just kind of prompt, iterate your results. And it used to be, yes, of course, you can do images that way. And if you're an architect that knows what's viable and possible and good sense of control, you could get to very good results quickly. But that's starting to happen now in the 3D modeling and BIM world as well. Right. So it's a question, is it 2 years away? Is it 5 years away? To the point where you're kind of just prompting a building in terms of the documentation, the representation, like the data assembly of your building, is how many years is it to the point when really you just kind of, interact, but not by clicking a mouse, but by saying, I want this, more like this, making sure it's code compliant, maybe some analysis tools feeding in data and things as well, to get the output. But that's just in the part of the architect's job, which has been quite a large part of it over my career, which is assembling data to show what you're wanting to build. Then there's the site part, which I think is a bit longer, but that's when robotics, automation, offsite things come together to really speed up and change how we build buildings, which will have a big impact on the cities we live in and the costs and the building and everything. Probably the biggest impact a bit further away. But you have to kind of manage all these things. Like, how does it help your day-to-day running an office? How does it help your development? Now, across all of this, if I were to be optimistic, there's still the human element. It's still...
I was just about to ask you that.
It's still... all business is ultimately about people. You're kind of navigating the world of people to channel resources, whether that's financial or human capital things, to get an outcome, which happens to be a building. And even though there's documentations being made and flying around and things, there is still the process of dealing with people, finding out what they want, how they get, and just navigating the whole process and hurdles it takes to get there. But I think the thing I can't be definite on, I don't think anybody can, it's a big disruptive force in our industry. And then I look at things like the music industry, which got disrupted many times in the last few decades in the way that they make and distribute music has changed many times. Same as journalism, film, all the industries are facing this. But I think for us, we haven't had that as much in the last 30 years or so now, but now this is a big disruption. So that means the kind of work which gets done, who does it, for how much, all just rearranges. Now I have to say, when we recently took a kind of summer placement, and we wanted someone with AI's, it's not even just AI's, because AI curiosity, that they've been playing with AI, they've been using it in their portfolio, even in second year, as a positive, because we're actively looking to kind of make sure that all our processes can be improved with AI. When people ask you, are they asking about, will it improve their chances of being employed? Are they worried about their jobs being at risk? Or
they're worried about their jobs. And both basically. But it's mainly worried about their jobs. Like, is it going to take over? I think most people are worried about this across the board, whether it's architecture or whatever. But there were a lot of concerns.
And I think I'm concerned as well that in the big picture, as a company owner, it's also a bit different. I'm thinking out to, we're all trying to be efficient. That also means, like, we don't do overtime. It's made it easier to keep to that goal. It can improve work-life balance. It's actually got rid of a lot of the non-fee paying things, like I said, like putting a bid together, which really improves your efficiency, and the service you're offering is kind of getting more efficient. I think some roles will change though, or be automated. So you've got to be careful what you're offering to the industry and the world, that it has value and a place in the world. But so I get on the optimistic side, and I'm feeling optimistic. Everybody wants to live in a better home than they have, and be in a better office. When you look around, the need to kind of build more, improve the built environment is almost infinite, especially in a region like there's always going to be a need to make better built environment. Basically, if you see your job as a steward of the built environment, then there's a massive need for that. But the way it's done and what bit gets done quickly and slowly and by who will sort of adjust, it may be, and then I don't know, but the kind of the power and the creativity, it's possible that moves to contractors or clients more. I think architects have to kind of fight to keep that in-house, because we tend to have just the best culture and experience and history to do that, to be the leaders in what really makes good design, even though that kind of baseline and how easy it is to make a good or reasonable building will lift, and that it'll be a lot easier for other people to do it in-house. But so and there may be a shorter disruption period where until the physical side of making more buildings gets a bit cheaper, easier, that may mean there's actually more buildings, more work. So it seems when I look at other industries, there was a bit of some have been firing, but then you don't know, was that a kind of economic thing anyway, or there's other things, or is it AI? Then I'm also reading they're kind of hiring again, and because they sometimes find actually it gives them a bit of spurt of growth. And when people, if you look at history, you'll find both. You'll see some industries obviously were kind of wiped out by technology, but some also grow. You get a big period of growth when there's something which makes everything quicker.
Yes. Yeah. We've actually got some questions coming in now. Hi, Abdul and Uman. We've got a question for you here, which please, everyone, questions, and we'll discuss them. It's good to have some interaction. I love it when people get involved. Seeing as we've got you here, I think this might cover up our faces, though. This is quite a long message. So, hi, Andy. One question. Looking at your experience in MENA region for so long, do you think building character regulations are important for a region to set some standards, how our cities and neighborhoods should look like? In that case, people complain about how difficult it is to get approval in the UK than in here. Don't you think now UAE needs a more detailed national framework plan? That was quite long. I needed a drink in the middle of that.
I can answer a few. Now, I've often said, I think the UK planning system is actually massively flawed, and it's a big bottleneck on economic output, and that affects architects' fees, affects the whole economy, because construction's a very big bit of the economy. And so the UK needs to have a much, certainly more efficient, but actually I would say looser planning system. And when I tell UK architects that in the Gulf, there's certainly not a democratic planning system. Might be a bit more depth. In the UK, it goes through a council, there'll be a vote, and some of these people are council members, or there's some lay members, but it can be a funny process. There'll be a lot of lobbying, people writing in complaining, and it can take years. There's a project that I worked on when I left London, it's still stuck in planning, I think.
No.
It's quite
wow.
Decades, or the Heathrow expansion. And in the Gulf, if the decision's made, it's made, it's done, it happens. So they're much quicker and faster. But that means more work, and it means better for the economy. There's more things happening. The UK needs to build more. It's got a housing crisis and needs to loosen up a bit. But so the UAE, this is what I explained to UK people. Do you have UK people on this call? Or is it mainly Gulf?
Oh yeah, no, we've got people internationally. So yeah.
This sometimes surprises UK people. You get your title deed and your plot, and I think it's similar in North America or many other countries, more zonal planning system. Your plot tells you how high the area you're allowed to build, how tall, some setbacks. But as long as you follow those kind of massing constraints and the obviously the building codes, which comes to later approval, you can kind of build what you want. Now, that does lead to too much chaos, obviously, and too much bad buildings. What I think works well is when there's a master developer like an Aldar or Emaar that say, these are design guidelines for our Dubai Hills or whatever, Yaz, and it goes through them, and they've got their own design guidelines that as long as you kind of follow this, so it might be saying it must be modern, maybe some things about glass types, palette, puts a bit more continuity, homogeneity into it. So I think that avoids the problem of just chaos and two contrasting building types, and gets a pretty good balance of in terms of style. So I think that, but that's not it's nothing like the UK system, and it doesn't tend to get stuck. It's much quicker and lighter. In terms of national framework, I mean, it's kind of what Saudi's been doing with the Salmani style and the ADC. But I mean, I see certainly the UAE is such an international cosmopolitan city. I think it's okay to have a bit of looseness about what you build and where, and then a way that the market decides what's popular and what kind of communities will live in those kind of places. Now, I think Oman was a bit different. They've been putting more homogenous style across the country. The best cities don't have a balance of kind of control but freedom. If you have too much freedom, you get chaos and it looks pretty horrible. If you have too much control, you get too much repetition, or actually it's more the developers might make it too repetitive to make more money. That looks bad too. So you need some kind of government oversight or system to make a better built environment. And sometimes that's technical regulations. I think the question's more about the kind of aesthetic look and feel, which is obviously, it's harder to prescribe that than a fire safety code or something. I quite like in the UAE though, there's a variety of styles that, and that each kind of area is a different, like a different village along Sheikh Zayed Road in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi. So I don't think they need any national guidelines. Can be a little bit, it can also hinder creativity. Some of the most creative buildings kind of break the mold. But I mean, I do like when developers have their own guidelines. I think you need a way to stop the bad buildings. But again, that can be subjective. But there's sometimes there's some buildings everybody thinks is bad. So I don't know. I think you do need a bit of regulation, but you have to be careful you don't overdo it and keep it pretty loose.
I think that's one of the attracting qualities of the Middle East as well. You know, people coming from Europe, say, where it is quite strict, coming to the Middle East, you can be far more creative. And certainly that's what we hear quite a lot.
I mean, so when it works very well, but there are obviously places where it hasn't worked, and it's just it's either too chaotic or the wrong building got built in the wrong place. But sometimes that comes also to sort of city planning and who decides what's get built, because they are around a long time. It's not as easy to remove it and start again.
We've got another question that's come in actually from Abdul about AI governance. So please share your knowledge about AI governance and architecture practice. I am working at the moment with the digitalization of city planning departments in terms of multi-level governance, being an architect, the AI system that bridges the gap between the flow of information within the departments.
I don't know too much about AI governance on that scale, but I would say that, and I mentioned doing that workshop in AI 8 years ago and realizing, I mean, within a building's relatively simple in that you can kind of know everything going on there. Maybe even an architect reviewing the MEP drawings and structure closely will kind of understand what's going on. But once you get to city scale, the amount of data and information, it is like the weather or the stock market. It's become a much more complex data system where one person is not going to understand that or digest that. So AI becomes very, very powerful in that AI, I think, can analyze all that data and I mean, that's when AI gets very interesting, when it starts going beyond what people can do.
Yes.
Recently, it's been solving maths problems that people can do. It beat the best chess player about 10 years ago now and Go, finding protein folding and things. It can find cancers and heart abnormalities. So when it can kind of look at data and find things a human can, it's kind of a lot of the ethical things flip a bit, saying, well, okay, there's some bad ethical sides to it, but if you can solve major problems, that's counterbalancing that. And when you get to city design, there is so much data, say transport, so RTA, traffic, power demand. Are people happy in a place? Is kind of interesting one, subjective one. Is it a successful place? Sunlight, cost, lots of parameters that can be analyzed, and then AI's ability to kind of optimize, improve. I think Google were looking at it with Sidewalk Labs for Canada, but it stopped. The UAE and the Gulf in general, they're in a very good position because they have a lot of digital data of their cities. It's not like London where there's some things will be on paper from 100 years ago. There's like fresher data. They've been digitalizing it for a while. There's these separate departments like DIWA, RTA to buy land that have lots of data well organized. There's huge potential. Now, in terms of governance, I'm not an expert in that, but it's obviously very important to make sure that's handled well. And something actually I've been planning to look at, having finished my RIBA Gulf chair role, is how I think AI in cities has a very big potential to be something very powerful and important. And it means really engineers, architects, government authorities, universities, and the general public having to all share information and work together. It's beyond just an architect doing a building or an engineer looking at the roads and things. It requires a lot of cross-disciplinary communication, which doesn't really happen. So maybe for the governance, one of the first steps is getting all these different parties together to talk to each other, because siloed information is quite a common problem in our industry, and siloed behavior.
We've got 2 other questions here, but I'm going to do them in back to front, because one's about portfolios and the other one's rolling on from the AI stuff. So we'll tackle the AI. So Zoria, I'm totally getting that wrong. I do apologize. In your own practice, what is one AI workflow that has genuinely improved the quality of your projects, not just the speed? That's a great question.
I think, yeah, when you still get efficiency, it can also make things a lot faster. You do have to check things because it'll get things wrong. I tried to make a image for this talk for social media yesterday, and it did everything right, but it had a completely different face for me and you.
Oh, hilarious. You should have posted it. I actually have arguments with mine argues with me, which I find that's strange. It's like, you should be doing this, and I'm like, no, that's not right.
Well, it's got the combined human experience to learn from. Maybe you listen to it.
I don't know. Oh no, I'm not going to divulge what I was saying.
I know it tells people to go to bed. They're up too late and things.
Oh yeah, mine's definitely done that.
Yeah, because a lot of the things I mentioned, well, so it definitely makes things more efficient, as in it's quicker, and that was like what our invoicing process and things, managed to automate that to save time.
That's awesome. Admin stuff, I think.
But in terms quality, actually, saying even doing that, it kind of automatically picked up some quality thing, quite minor, like some typos, consistency, saying, oh, you had full stops there but not there, and you got this title wrong. So even our old one actually had minor kind of grammar type errors. The one that's probably making the biggest difference in the low-hanging fruit is the visualization, in that you can get images certainly a lot quicker. But we have found that probably often times are better. So we've got better quality renders out. We're still making all our models in Rhino.
Right.
So we model it, we design it, and then we often take a kind of Enscape or Lumion type base and then use AI to make it a presentation render. It's certainly quicker, but we're finding as well these days it's often higher quality as well. Yeah. The other thing, it has helped probably it's improving quality when pretty much any report, whether it's a bid or design report these days, we put it through AI and say, look, do a proofread, check for any errors, suggest for me any areas of improvements, identify any risks, and it goes through it and it gives a dozen suggestions, whatever. So it helps. The proofreading always picks up a few things that we missed, and even InDesign spell check or whatever missed, and then it normally picks up a few things that may be a kind of legal liability type risk, or it might be you've done all this but you haven't done a glossary, or you've missed out one quite important point that you've just had a blind spot on. So yeah, in those cases, it's improving quality of the output. It's also helped. There's been times when you're doing like a new project type or something where it can really help with your knowledge, because you can set it, especially if you make a project, you feed it a lot of the regulations and guidelines and things, and maybe even the brief, and then you use it to kind of interrogate it to get different data out. Yeah. So yeah, it has improved quality, as not just speed. But you always have to be aware, we do also find some mistakes, so you have to be careful enough not just to trust it blindly, obviously. Yeah. And check it. But yeah, both.
Excellent. So go on. Sorry.
I think it's an interesting question. There's often more emphasis on the speed, that, we're saving time, saving money. It obviously is a lot quicker, but you do ultimately want to get better quality as well. And then sometimes just the baseline can raise. It can be a lot easier to get something good, but then does that mean you've got more time to make something very, very, very good, because you're spending time clicking, iterating, whatever. Yeah, if you're going through more iteration cycles, you're probably also increasing your design quality overall.
Yeah, you can get lost in it though, can't you?
Yeah.
So Zahir, we've got a portfolio question. Hello, Hayley and Andy. Hello. For people who've worked for a developer-based consultant, where the main driver is financial rather than architectural storytelling, what would you suggest to someone who has a heavy technical portfolio, who's looking to move into a design-based studio? And what should they include in their portfolios, since junior, in most small to mid-sized firms, are almost entirely locked out of the early conceptual narrative phases and pushed straight into production and authority approvals?
Do you want to answer that first, and I'll try?
I need to digest that myself. But this back and forth.
Well, first of all, I'd say, yeah, I mean, all developers are very financially driven, some more so than others. There's always a balance, obviously, but I mean, they think very commercially. And I think one thing architects are a bit weak, we don't think commercially, and think to make, I don't think the teachers in university enough, actually, and it's something I think a mistake young designers make. To make something look nice and interesting is not that hard, actually. It's the easy bit. To make something that works and looks good and is interesting, but is still buildability. And that probably means you're limiting, like a ninja, you're limiting your moves that you're making. That you're doing it with less, but still getting a good outcome is actually quite a much harder skill, harder to do. I think we get a bit distracted. You'll see something like the Louvre or the buildings in Sadia, which are beautiful, amazing, but those are kind of one-off, money no object projects. 99% of the projects, especially residential and hospitality, towers and things, they're spending hundreds of millions. They're not going to do it and make a loss. The better developers know that their brand and lifestyle, everything's important. It's not just purely bottom. The ones that go purely bottom line driven normally fall over, actually. So the better ones know that it still has to look good, but they're always thinking, is that really giving me value, or is it too much? And, you know, too many curves there or something. And does it need to be marble, or can ceramic do the job? So having that kind of commercial knowledge is actually quite valuable, and a lot of architects might appreciate that you will understand that there is, that the client's certainly thinking, you know, can I squeeze more efficiency out my plan, and is my elevation look good, but is it not, because it's not overloaded with materials I don't really need? So I think showing that in your portfolio is not a bad thing. And if you have some work from maybe university, or just even, you can always do work separately through workshops and things. Very easy now to do a few days workshop with PA Academy or on the other ones to show some more creative work as well. They probably quite like seeing both, to see that you know how a developer thinks, because sometimes the problem that you have a young architect in the office just making lots of nice things, but when you look at it more closely, you go, well, the client's not going to like it, because they're going to straight away remove this, and this. There is an exception if you happen to work for, so even Foster's, great firm, one of the biggest in the world. Most of their work is still commercial. It's still residential and offices, and I think they mastered actually how to be very commercially driven, but make very interesting, elegant architecture. But if they're asked to do a museum or something, it's a museum and a maybe like metro station things are a bit different. When the public buildings, there's a bit more emphasis on the design, maybe being iconic and things, and than just the commercial side. But most buildings are very commercially driven, so it is good to know all that stuff and to show it in an interview. Most officers would probably appreciate it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
I think from our clients, they want to understand your kind of knowledge in the grand scheme of things, and certainly when it comes from, you know, if you've got more the back end kind of experience, it benefits designers at the front end, because they understand the issues that can come about in the latter stages.
Yeah.
So we do get that a lot. Actually, we've got a private. Oh, I've got a private message from the link that you sent. They're trying to get on, and I'm not sure how to. I'll have to answer that in a minute.
Okay, I put it on my LinkedIn post. Updated it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just one person. Oh, you've frozen again.
I think I've popped a LinkedIn to try share it.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. Thank you for these questions, guys. Do you have any more that you would like to send in to Andy? Please pop them in the comments below so that we can get through them. Is there, hang on, we've covered quite a lot actually, and I just need to read through a few of these. We keep kind of dipping in and out of them. Sorry?
Yeah, oh, so have you got more questions?
No, no, I was just going through my questions actually. Yeah. I'm waiting for, the private chat isn't actually a question really. It's trying to, they're trying to get into our kind of setup here. So I'll come back to them. What kind of advice can you, could you give to architects and designers out there who are looking to get into the Middle East?
From outside, you mean?
Yeah.
No, actually, so especially my RIBA role, I would get several a year, and probably more the last few years, of people I didn't know just getting in touch saying, oh, I want to come to the Middle East. Do you have any advice? And I often have a quick call them to go over it. And interestingly, it used to be like 5 or 6 years ago, it was normally my husband or wife has a job in Dubai. I'm an architect. But the last 2 years, I want to come to Dubai. What's my advice? Now, I think the first thing, so there's normally several things actually, is if you're in Dubai, it is obviously easier. Even that means coming for a few weeks or a month, if you have a friend to stay with or anything. So some kind of link does help. If from outside, people do get hired from outside though, quite often.
Yep.
Now, I think the portfolio is the first impression. Well, not the portfolio, the kind of 10, 20 page mini CV, portfolio that you look at when you're going through CVs. And it does help. So any regional experience is obviously a big plus. So if you've been in a UK office and you've done a project in the Gulf, that's like, okay, so they know a bit about how things work here, and it is a different approach to design and the speed and everything. So that's quite a big plus. And more that if you don't have that, if you only have UK experience, well, then it depends. If you've done so I'll give an example. One guy had been working in Glasgow, but had done like mid-rise office blocks, which had a lot of glass and quite commercial. It actually looked like it could be in an office park in Dubai or something. So that's probably quite helpful. It's like, okay, these kind of buildings, and he had a lot more technical drawings and detailed drawings you normally see in an architect's CV here, actually. So actually, that's probably quite interesting, especially the companies that like help deliver, BSBG and people like that do a lot of delivery work through the later stages as well. And having RIBA Part 3 helps as well, or PMP, okay, good experience managing. I think it's a problem if you've only done like low-rise brick buildings and things, or lots of pitched roofs, traditional work. It just looks too alien here.
Yes.
And so it'd be pretty hard to get a job unless you got very lucky and there's a kind of conservation type role or something. In which case you kind of have to find a way to get some of that experience. So I don't want to say regional experience, because it might be if you've done a tower in London or something, it's going to be close enough to be here, or Manchester, Glasgow, anywhere in Europe, America, or whatever, anywhere in the world. So it's be the same. Singapore, Miami, these kind of big commercial hubs, global hubs, it's at least going to be a bit closer. So it does depend the kind of projects in your portfolio, and it's more of a problem. They're really just too alien in style, and the context of a different climatic context, cultural context, all different. In which case, I think you have to try and get some local experience, or be very lucky. Okay, I don't know, or maybe you might have, through your network, you might get an opportunity, or maybe be prepared to drop down a grade or two. So I think if you've worked, depending on the type of work in your portfolio, if you're coming from outside the region, now maybe if very much more of a project manager, delivery side, probably a bit less important the style of the work, a bit more about the professionalism, the knowledge. But generally, I think that's probably the first barrier. Then the other things like if you can get a UAE number in your CV, or if you can come over in person for a few weeks, any bit of networking all helps as well.
Yeah, what I do find with people like that, though, sometimes, so I just want to say this just in case everyone goes, oh, I'm just going to come to Dubai and get a job. Plan ahead, please, people, because we do get a lot of people like calling us up or sending their CV. Right, I'm here. I've just got here. Get me interviews. There needs to be a lot more kind of lead up to it than that.
Oh yeah, months. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're really keen though, if you decide to really want to do it, it'd mean like there's quite a lot of companies obviously have a UK office or American office.
That's the ideal way. Yeah.
Whether it's Faulkner Brown or Foster or Hopkins and people. So it might be working in one of these places and then they move you over saying, you know, I want to, or at least after 2 or 3 years, you've got some regional experience that would make it easier to get a lot easier to get a job in the region.
Okay, I think we've had a few comments coming in. I've got an interesting one from Omar. What is your other favorite place besides UAE? Oh, sugar, it's moved. We've got other questions coming through. Besides UAE, when it comes to focus on modern architecture and future projects.
Yeah, I think Abu Dhabi, I think, is doing very well. The buildings are doing. So, I've often I do travel quite a lot. I'm in Portugal right now. They're doing some quite interesting buildings as well, but a bit more intimate scale. There's more well, I'll say there's two things. There's Singapore has a very good set of buildings, and that's across the kind of grand, spectacular scale, the creative scale.
Really
probably
cool.
More so actually that, but they have some very interesting buildings. I always like it when you go to a city and it's not just, oh, there's a few nice things, the rest are rubbish. It's like the average, where the day-to-day buildings are nice, the simple ones are nice, like everything, like high level of design quality. You do see that a bit here in Porto, where I'm right now actually as well. Yeah. The UK maybe not doing that so well right now. I was in London recently, the V&A storehouse. Interesting, a very innovative typology. They rethought the whole museum typology. But in terms of places, because then it becomes more instant question. It's not just, you know, what has a few nice buildings. It means they're doing something right on like a government level, the education level. It's like building a World Cup winning team. You think through decades. So Singapore's one. Copenhagen, Denmark. I was there last year. Also very interesting. And you know, again, the old buildings are nice. The mid-rise, cheap resi buildings are nice. The spectacular waterfront ones are nice. And you know, they don't just have one or two good offices. They have several famous offices there. They also have quite good pay and things. Apparently, they have almost like a kind of union type thing. I think for workforce salaries are quite controlled, basically.
Yeah, they are.
So they have something. They're also doing many things right across like urban design, government guidelines, design culture, education, universities, which is quite deep rooted. So that I found that a very interesting place, and just the depth of the quality, but also Singapore, so the interlace, very innovative. I'd have to live there to know if it works, but I like that they really push things, and obviously the airport as well. I think in terms of modern ones, yeah, they're the ones that stand out.
Okay, cool. Zahir has just come in with a ARB question. ARB next year is changing its procedures and making it easier for non-UK qualified architects to get ARB registered. Do you think that getting ARB accredited, is going to be something useful in the Middle East? Oh, can you see it if I get rid of it on the screen?
It's gone now.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know whether you could see it in your chat.
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's all changing, but normally, I tell people, ARB is like legally controlling the title architect in the UK. They probably are on a bit of a turf war of RIBA though, in overlapping in CPD and education and things. But legally, it doesn't mean anything in the Middle East. I think, but RIBA, I hate explaining to people ARB and RIBA. It's just really complicated. It is very complicated, and it's different on all these circumstances. Having RIBA Part 3, I think, is valuable. You sometimes see job applicants saying looking for RIBA accredited Part 3 architects. because it shows that you've gone through beyond the design education, you've done the professional education on project management and legal stuff and things. So I think having Part 3 is definitely helpful. Being RIBA accredited, it doesn't really help you legally, certainly in the UAE, and I don't think it's so well known. So I don't think it helps that much being RIBA registered. Saying that, that's all changing. And maybe some of the UK, I don't know, the UK companies in the Gulf, like Foster and people would care about it. So yeah, I think RIBA, I'm not so sure, but
sure, we don't get anyone requesting it. I have to say, it's RIBA we get the requests for rather than ARB.
They're both legally meaningless, although I think RIBA Part 3 gets you you can get SOE accreditation because of a memorandum of understanding with them. So I believe you show your hard copy certificate and you'll get SOE membership, which may help in some scenarios. But it's more about kind of reputation and credibility and things, I think. Saying that, I saw one job advert for the Boring Company, which is the Elon Musk thing. They said they really want an American registered architect and ARB, the mutual recognition. But you'd probably say RIBA's effectively the same, Part 3 is effectively the same, and so effectively is the same thing. So unless things change structurally along the UK, and it might mean with protection of function and things happening, whether ARB or RIBA take charge of that more, it's quite tricky because everything's changing. But generally, I normally say, I keep my ARB, but I am questioning get much out of it because it doesn't really mean anything. It's only really if I did one project in the UK a few years ago. I'm worried about giving it up and not getting it back, but it doesn't really do anything for me or mean anything legally.
I do see quite a lot of conversations especially on LinkedIn about the fees involved and all of this kind of stuff as well. I know it's something that yes, and the pay hasn't in relation.
I guess I don't think it helps in the Gulf. You have to maybe the only thing, but I keep it because looking ahead, I'm worried I might need it in the future and be harder to get it back, whether that's linked to protection of function or I don't know. I think I'll be in the UAE for quite a while, but you never know, we might be in the future.
Yeah,
and I might be in a country where it's important. Yeah, and I'm not an expert. The mutual recognition agreements with like Canada and America and other places I think that's more linked to ARB than RIBA actually, because that is the more close to government. ARB is, kind of part of the government.
Yeah. So we've had a question come in from Kamya. Hey, Hayley and Andy. Hello. Good to have you here. If you're early in your career, do you think it's more valuable to work across different scales and to have a better understanding of the design process, or to focus on developing a specialized skill set that makes you more indispensable, especially with AI becoming a bigger part of design workflows? I'd love to hear how you'd approach that trade-off.
I think the latter, actually. No, I think so. Architecture is a very broad profession. One problem I have at university actually is that they tend to funnel you sometimes each year. The professors, and they're funneling you this more about creativity, or this one's maybe a bit more technical. But I liked in London we had the unit system, and you could at least find a bit of a path. Some are more hands-on, some are digital, some are not. Some are very theoretical, some are playful, some are very minimal. Because in terms of both style and process, but university is a bit more focused on design side. But once you get into an office, you realize there's quite a lot of different skills needed, and no one really has them all because of different personality types and things. So there's obviously the more concept stage, being creative, making images and things and plans. But there's also quite being able to deliver a project, which is more about managing information, managing people, quite political, very important skill to have. Site delivery, again, quite a different skill set to have. And even within all the early stuff is like sustainability expert, a 3D modeling expert. I think if you find a bit that you're interested in, you're therefore probably going to be better at and can focus on it, it probably does make it easier ultimately to get hired. And maybe you see some jobs where they're not looking for what you have, but it does make you stand out a bit. Whether it's, okay, I'm very, very good at delivering projects. Now, that may come, though, after a year or two being in an office, that you got in by being a bit broader. But I think eventually you do need to specialize a bit. At the same time, that means I've been through a few phases in my career. It does change. I started off being much more hands-on and modeling it, and now is more about political and client management things. However, I've always had a lot more experience on the concept stage, and there's others that are much better at the detail and sites tendering and site stage. And also keep in mind that it may not be an architect's office that you work in. There's people like Mace and many management consultants that are really helping deliver projects, but they might be working for the same clients, but helping deliver big projects. And again, it's a lot more about people skills and political skills and managing information and efficiency, accuracy, and things. So yeah, I think it probably is specializing is good.
I mean, it's something that I was discussing with Ray Brown last week, actually. And I think overall architects have a tendency to say, oh yeah, I can do everything. Whereas, you know, your jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation. And I think sometimes niching down and specializing in something, A, you know, you're doing something that you really enjoy, but B, yeah, I do think it's specialization is a great thing.
Yeah, it's the same as a practice where, again, as you said, we're a jack of all trades. In theory, we could design a school, a station, a library, anything. But, and you know, I've been in, I remember Hopkins did the first hospital. They went through that, they learned it, and then they can do more. It's great.
Yeah.
But you can't do everything well. It does help to have a few of them that you tend to be better at, and then you get very, very good and efficient at them. So with us, it's definitely housing and hotels. We certainly know very well. We do other things as well. But yeah, there's obviously a benefit. You become an expert in a narrower field, and there's other experts doing other things. So I think, yeah, being an expert in a narrow field is probably better than being a bit generalist across the board. But saying that, I don't know, if you're a fresh graduate, you haven't started quite working yet, you might not know yet.
No.
I guess you might know already, though, that you're starting into sustainability, or you should know kind of scale of buildings and architecture into, but also you might be looking for any opportunity, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
But certainly, I think in terms of, I think we often look at the now and what's next, but it's interesting having worked now. God, it's getting nearly 30 years, actually. I think a bit less. Wow. So it does go in phases and can plan a bit ahead, but sometimes you can't. But things change over that period of time, and you probably do have to look not just about now and the next job, you know, what about the next 4, 5 to 10 years? Yeah. I quite strategically took expertise in parametric modeling 20 years ago. Because, well, again, I liked it. I found it very interesting. I always like new things to play with. And that did help me in my career, and it kept my job safe in the financial crisis. And then recently, you know, AI, I saw something found it very interesting, a lot of potential, and for several years, probably early adopters in it. And then again, when you do part 3 and things, you start thinking a bit more. I realized I didn't love being a more project manager type architect. The later stages, and so moved to other bits. So I think you certainly need to have like an awareness of what the whole industry and profession is. Find the bit that you like and therefore be good at, but make sure there's a need for it. I guess it's all them juggling. You know, there's always a need to deliver buildings, even when AI is changing the process and the software and who does it. But finding where you think there'll always be a need and making sure you have skills and enough passion to do it well is important. Yeah, for sure. Okay, next question. Uman, thanks, Andy and Hayley. Just one last question. Moving from an early startup in which you are involved in everything to now, where you look mostly towards financials and commercial driven decisions, do you feel that lack of design, in brackets involvement, may lead to something that you had not planned earlier when you started? Repeat the last bit again. So the last bit's cropped off. Do you feel that?
Oh, yeah. Do you feel the lack of design and in brackets involvement may lead to something that you had not planned earlier when you started?
I hope so. Yeah. So let me try and tackle this
sometimes
question.
it's really difficult with these questions because you don't know quite where they're coming from or what they do. So you have to fill in the gaps.
I can tell a story that might, or a reflection that might answer the question better. And it covers what's saying before, over a career, you do change what you do. You don't, maybe some do, but I think you shouldn't. Okay, if you want to be doing the same task over and over again, if you love it, it's probably okay. But you're probably, as you get more experience in things, you should be kind of progressing and moving into different roles. And many architects will face the thing where they're getting more of management roles. It goes from being part of a team to managing a team, managing a project, to managing several projects and managing an office. Maybe then even, if you end up in a very high role at AECOM or something, you might be managing a whole load of disciplines and things as well. As you go through that, also, the way you involved in design changes. It's no longer hands-on, it's no longer direct. I'm still involved in design, but it's quite a bit more subtle and nuanced. Is that more like suggesting things, commenting on things? It's definitely less hands-on. There's still a bit of drawing and things, but much less. Or even it's the kind of systems you set up, like how you encourage people to talk to each other, and even who you hire, obviously, and things. You're doing it in other ways. But I started my career, I think, in most people, you're not really involved in financial and commercial decisions. I think moving to Dubai got me involved in that a lot earlier, actually. Something I hear quite often. In the UK offices, it takes a lot longer to get client-facing, to get involved in the company financials and things, which even in my kind of mid-early 30s, I was in the Gulf. But yeah, you end up a different part of the journey. I'm at the part now, it is on the company-wide scale and strategy and clients, markets and things, and less definitely not hands-on about designs, but still always thinking about design and what direction to go in and what is the right kind of design to do and to sort of encourage. In terms of leading to something else is also, it's like a second question. It's like,
I know.
I think you also have to be open-minded that some opportunities just present themselves. And I mean, it happens often that we might think, oh, we want to do more hotels, we'll try and do hotels, and then out the blue, through something that happened a year ago or something, you're offered a heritage project or UNESCO project or something that you didn't expect, but it turns out for instance you do, or you end up doing a tower and it goes well. So you always have to have enough kind of not be horse vision, wide vision to know things can come out. And give it my time with RIBA as well, is that always have to be open-minded because things come in and it may be a new potential institution, a partner to work with, whatever, that you wouldn't have thought to target, but an opportunity comes along and it's something you find a way to find some potential for both to benefit from. So yeah, I'm aware it can take in different directions. I think when you run a business, you always have to it's like steering a ship, I guess. You're sort of looking ahead, aware there's going to be storms, but there's also going to be some new sunny places
and calmer waters.
Sea monsters, whatever. Lost sailors. It's trying to second guess things, but also responding to things that you couldn't quite second guess, and keeping everyone happy along the way as well. Keeping upright.
Hopefully. We've got another question. So Vasu Devario, I think that's how you say your name. Apologies if not. How the war in the Gulf influenced the number of jobs in this region? Great question. I'm actually seeing a massive kind of, I don't know if it's true or whatever, but LinkedIn is awash with jobs. It went really quiet at the beginning, March time when it all kicked off, like super quiet. But now, like in the past month, I would say, at least, I've seen it kind of completely flip on its head. I mean, how have you found it?
Well, I noticed that as well. And I was wondering, I did look at a job advert for a friend. And then I thought maybe that's the algorithm now is going to send me lots of jobs. But I noticed that too. It's everything from junior architect to principal and project managers. So I think a few things happening. I think earlier this year, things froze up a bit. Now, I speaking to lots of architects, as I did, especially the RIBA role. Some projects stopped. Well, the ones that are about to tender might have thought it's time to reconsider or hold off a bit. But ones that are on site, they have to carry on. They've got their payment plans to meet, the people to come in. The ones in concept are thinking, well, we're not going to build for a year or two anyway, and hopefully it's all sorted by then. So they carried on. I think the country, the government was very keen to keep things moving. So really, most projects kept going. And if they stopped, it wasn't about the war. It was about something else, that they weren't viable anyway. But I think maybe February, March, some companies did restructure a bit, let some people go. They're a bit cautious, but now they're reconfiguring and hiring.
Yes.
And I think, as I said, I think some projects like, well, look, we've got to keep growing. We've got to stay bullish and strong. And so some of the big projects have kind of been signed off to go ahead. And that's why you're seeing hiring. Also, maybe I know some people left the country, or
That's true. Yeah.
So that makes some job openings. So I think that's, I wouldn't know the total numbers in that up down. So I think people left and lost their jobs. And that's why there's kind of that liquidity in the market. I don't know if there's now a lot of hiring. It does seem there's a lot of hiring.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of emails I'm getting a day with new jobs, it's just, it's crazy. Yeah.
I was wondering if it's just a LinkedIn thing, or, but I was seeing so much. I thought, no, there's something else going on. There seems to be quite a lot of hiring. I know there's always been a bit of hiring in my experience, hiring in waves.
Yeah.
Like it'd be quiet, and all of a sudden there's a lot of activity. There are some very big jobs. I remember at RMGM, they landed one massive job in Abu Dhabi, and that meant hiring like 10 people at once. And at that point, people came in from all over the world, looked globally for them. So that is quite normal as well. There's quite bumps and waves. It's quiet for a few months, and then it's crazy busy.
Yeah.
But to be seen,
I mean,
though, the long term, I'm very optimistic. I think the region keeps growing. A lot of people want to move to the region, live in the region. I think actually I've noticed maybe like the new emerging markets, Syria and Iraq.
Oh, interesting.
I've seen some jobs there, or people have moved there because they're more stable than they have been in previous years, and that their political situations got a bit more stable. And that also means development. We did a project actually in Iraq for some villas with Eagle Hills.
Right.
So beyond the very established like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh now, there's always some markets in the region which are really growing or changing. And if people are up for a challenge or somewhere new, there's other countries. Oman's building quite a lot too. But at the same time, I mentioned, you can't predict the weather and the politics at the moment. But I am quite
Trump.
So everyone's hoping that things calm down and all the tourists come back and everything. But I mean, my long term for the region, I think the long term signals are very good, and I think they'll keep building, people keep moving, and it is quite different from somewhere like the UK, which has a lot of building stock already and is in a different kind of stage of development.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've kept you for over an hour. We've had quite a lot of questions coming in. We've got a lot of people saying thank you very much, which is lovely. Thank you guys for all of your questions today. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with? I think we've got someone, Ronak, who's trying to apply to a job. But yes, is there anything that you would like to leave us with?
Well, I didn't prepare much for this, so talk to Haley about the start. That I learned from the end of my RIBA role, it's more authentic and fun to just say what you think. And I think I've been working enough to know what I know what I don't know, and what I don't know. So I'm happy just to talk, hopefully not say anything wrong. I think I'm looking at the questions that you posted originally and things, and one I didn't. Oh, I thought, I want to mention our no overtime policy.
Oh, go for it.
Because again, that I did like my RIBA role. I speak to people in different companies, and I'm often, what's the work culture like in the Gulf? And I also again, there's a big spectrum. There's some very good companies, a very good culture. There's some bad ones as well. Same in every country. You'd have to do more research to know what's better or worse and how many there are.
Yeah.
But there are some, I know there's some offices that have good culture, and because people tend not to leave.
Yes.
And they never say bad things. They're quite happy.
Yeah.
Even if they work a bit of overtime, there's just, they feel appreciated and they have fun work and there's a good atmosphere. So it's basically work culture, and it tends to come from the people at the top normally, actually. That sort of filters down. But we decided a few years ago to try and to have a no overtime, because I think there is quite a culture of overtime in the country. Again, some practice better, worse than others. But what we found is once you kind of commit to that, it forces you to be efficient. Which I think so if you have a system where you're unpaid overtime, probably the most common one, where then the bosses, and I worked through this in both my main employments, where if it has to be done, the bosses expect you to stay till 8, 9, or 2, 3 in the morning, whatever, or the weekend, to get it done. But the problem is then that you're encouraging inefficiency in the system and from the bosses, because it means more options, more changes, If you're committed to leaving at a certain time, you're forced to be more decisive and efficient. If you actually pay overtime, it's kind of the opposite. If you're paying people to work late, now I have come across some that will use that and say, I worked an extra 3 weeks this month on this. So you're incentivizing inefficiency again on the other side. And the fairest thing is to have no overtime. Just try to stick to your hours, be efficient. Does mean sometimes tell the client, well, that's not happening this weekend. You'll get it on Tuesday when they ask for something on Friday, 5 p.m.
Oh, wow.
It happens quite a lot. And saying no to it, being careful what you say no to, select with your clients. But it is overall the best. Very occasionally, we do need to work a bit later, but we make sure we give back time in lieu, 100%. But it's actually quite rare. And it's when board projects stack up at once. So we've managed to stick to it pretty well. But found that just committing to it is the main thing. And now with all the AI tools and everything, it makes it much easier to be efficient as well. And it forces you to really think all your working processes to be very time efficient and respect people's time.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, with AI now, you can be more efficient and get the admin done via all the workflows that AI can do these days. We've got one more question. Do you have time for one more question?
One more.
One more?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ronak, and then
they can try sending something on LinkedIn. I might answer
it. Any stake on AI in interior design?
And it's able to make the renders and things a lot easier now and change materials. So you can iterate a lot faster. So our industry is quite broad. There's different parts. And so I've already seen people online for architecture concept design, kind of prompting a whole concept design pretty much. Certainly a pre-concept, plans, diagrams. And if you do a bit of proofreading, checking to fix the bad bits, it's a probably pretty viable concept done. And I think interior, so BIM and Revit models aren't there yet, but they might be in a few years. But interior design, in terms of the deliverables, standard deliverable set of like a perspective, references, material samples, you can probably do that a lot of AI now and do it very well. But that means your role, if that is not about the time making those deliverables, it is much more about the sort of the curation, the selection, the actual design. If now you can make 20 options rather than 3 in the time, you'd hope the better ones are better. So it's disrupted the value chain of what you make and provide, and all the aspects of quality, cost, time will change. And every business has to navigate that. So there is still, that has to be delivered. That has to become a real thing in the real world, with a budget and a picky client and everything. But as a tool, it's made that process a lot quicker. Same way for us, it's made making images from a model a lot quicker and better. So you have to and I think it's also very easy to learn these tools compared to learning BIM or something. You can learn an AI tool much more easily with online tutorial. I think it's worth getting a few in-person things as well, even online in person for a few hours. But you can get good much quicker than it did to really master something like a BIM or some of the old V-Ray and things before.
What's your favorite piece of AI software?
I use several for different tasks, actually. So Claude is generally better for writing, but smarter. But ChatGPT is like a sort of Swiss Army knife, does a lot quickly. Nano Banana's probably the most powerful and best for images, but we don't use in the office much, but I do kind of a bit of exploration for creativity, probably Midjourney. And that if you can really explore some concepts that before. There's like about 8-9 years ago, I almost did a master's or kind of MPhil back in London, exploring digital facades and kind of organic architecture and things. But in the end, I think that led to teaching and things more. But I was able to do a lot of the work I wanted to do with AI tools like Midjourney. In that I would have taken hours and days to model and render, but could do it really in. So it allows that much faster thinking, production, iterating loop.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Andy. I've really loved having you on. We've had loads of questions coming, which is great. Please keep them coming and we'll try and answer them after this. But thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to having you on again at some point.
Yeah, well, another time. Thank you.
Excellent stuff.